Welcome to all. Now we are going to discuss unit number 4 of microprocessor subject. Name of the unit is input output exception and interrupt. So today we are going to discuss topic exception and interrupt. So let's start. In previous lecture already we have discussed what is hardware interrupt. So what is hardware interrupt? The interrupts which are coming on INTR pin or NMI pin can be considered as a hardware interrupt. So external devices can use these hardware interrupts in order to take service of the microprocessor. So when I told you that in the computer system we don't have only processor, we have many input output devices such as keyboard, mouse, printer. So these input output devices, they may require service of microprocessor at some time. So whenever external devices they require service of the microprocessor, what they will do, they will send interrupt signal either on INTR or NMI pin. So again here the question is that why two separate pins are provided. So there is difference between the interrupts that are coming on INTR pin and the interrupts that are coming on NMI pin. So the interrupts which are coming on INTR pin are called as maskable interrupts, and the interrupts which are coming on NMI pin, they are called as non-maskable. So non-maskable means they cannot be enabled, they cannot be disabled. Okay, and the interrupts which are coming on INTR pin are maskable, means they can be enabled as well as disabled. So how we can enable or disable the interrupt that are coming on INTR pin? So for that there is one flag present in flag register. Name of that flag is IUP flag. IUP stands for interrupt flag. So this is about hardware interrupt. Then we have seen one more term, that is exception. So what is exception? So we can say that these are error conditions. These are error conditions which are detected by a processor while execution of the program. So there are again different types of exception, such as divide by zero error. So divide by zero error, and the name itself indicate if your programs contain some instruction which is trying to divide some number by zero, okay, then it is considered as error by microprocessor. Then page fault. So in the paging mechanism we have seen what is meant by page fault. So page fault, it is also considered as an exception. So what I want to say, there are different types of exception. Okay, there are different types of hardware interrupt. So the question is that how 80386 will recognize these interrupts, how 80386 will identify the interrupt. So here what is done, one unique number is assigned to each and every exception, to each and every interrupt. Are you getting what I am saying? Okay, one unique number is assigned to each and every exception, each and every interrupt. So the numbers in the range 0 to 31 are allocated to NMI and exception. Okay, so please try to understand. I am talking only about NMI, that is non-maskable interrupt, and I am talking about exception. I am not talking anything about the interrupts that are coming on INTR pin. Okay, so which range is assigned to the NMI and exception? All the numbers present in this range, that is 0 to 31, they are allocated only to the NMI and exception. So we are going to discuss this range in next slide. So please try to understand now this statement. Okay, again all numbers in above range are not used by 80386. So we are saying that this range 0 to 31 is allocated to the exception and NMI, but all numbers in this range are not defined in 80386. So some of the numbers are reserved. Now let's see which are those numbers. So here you can see one term, vector number. So what is vector number? Simple, the number which is assigned to the interrupt can be considered as a vector number or type number. Okay, so each interrupt has one number associated with it. So consider first exception. Which is first exception listed here? Divide error, that is divide by zero error. Already I explained you what is meant by divide by zero error. Okay, if your program contains some instruction that is trying to divide some number by zero, then 80386 will consider it as a exception. And what is the name of that exception? Divide error. So which is the vector number, or which is number assigned to this divide error? It is 0. Okay, so if I say that it is type 0 interrupt, so which is type 0 interrupt? So type 0 means divide error. Okay, so by using this 0, 80386 will identify divide error exception. Then I talked about a page fault. Okay, so page fault is type 14 interrupt. Okay, so type 14 exception is called as page fault. Okay, then we are saying that this range, that is 0 to 31. Yes, so here there should be a 31, not 32. So this range 0 to 31 is allocated to the exception and NMI. Okay, so can you tell me the what is by observing this slide, can you tell me what is type number of the interrupt that are coming on NMI pin? Yes, it is type 2. Okay, so see which is type 2 interrupt. So it is NMI interrupt. The interrupts which are coming on NMI pin are assigned vector number 2. Okay, and apart from this NMI interrupt, all other are exceptions here. Okay, so stack fault, then page fault, coprocessor error, so all these are error condition, that is exceptions. So this point is clear to you? Okay, so remember this range 0 to 31 is given for exception and NMI. So now the question is that what about the interrupts that are coming on INTR pin? Okay, what are vector numbers of the interrupts that are coming on INTR pin? So 80386 is not responsible for assigning type number to the interrupts that are coming on INTR pin. So here we required one external device, we can call it as a PIC. Okay, so here we will require PIC. So PIC stands for programmable interrupt controller. So which is a programmable interrupt controller? So 8259. Okay, so this 8259 is a PIC which is responsible for assigning vector number to the interrupt that are coming on INTR pin. So this PIC is not part of our syllabus, so we are not going to discuss this 8259 in detail. Okay, so what is the role of 8259? Just try to understand what is function of 8259. It determines number, that is vector number of maskable interrupt received on INTR pin, and that type number, that vector number is communicated to 80386 by 8259. Okay, so whenever any interrupt signal arrives on INTR pin, then this 8259 is responsible for sending type number of that interrupt to 80386. So which range is remaining now? 32 to 255. We have seen 0 to 31. 0 to 31 is for NMI and exception. So next range, that is starting from 32 to 255, is allocated to the interrupt that are coming on INTR pin. So let's try to understand it with the help of this diagram. Okay, so this diagram, it contains PIC here, programmable interrupt controller. Then on this side you can see various devices, okay, that can be connected to the microprocessor. Okay, so here I have shown a clock, then keyboard, and in this way we can have many input output devices. So please try to understand that these devices, they are not directly connected. Here in between microprocessor and these devices we have PIC. So each and every input output device will have one output pin which will be labeled as IRQ. IRQ stands for interrupt request. Okay, so please try to understand what is the long form of IRQ. So IRQ stands for interrupt request. So if this, consider this example, suppose keyboard required service of microprocessor. Suppose keyboard required service of microprocessor, or keyboard want to interrupt microprocessor. So how a keyboard will interrupt to the microprocessor? So if keyboard want service of microprocessor, what it will do? It will simply activate its interrupt request line. Now interrupt request line of this keyboard is connected to PIC. So whenever this particular interrupt request line becomes active, so PIC will come to know that keyboard is requesting for service of microprocessor. So then what PIC will do? Then PIC will convert that interrupt request into the vector number. What is vector number? Please don't get confused. What is vector number? It is number assigned to each and every interrupt. It is number assigned to each and every exception. So now what we are discussing on this slide, what we are going to discuss. So after explanation of this slide, you should understand how 80386 is recognizing the interrupt that are coming on INTR pin. Okay, so when this IRQ line becomes active, what PIC will do? PIC will convert that interrupt request into the vector number, and that vector number will be communicated to microprocessor by using data bus. Okay, so see, this PIC and a microprocessor, they are connected by using data bus. So are you getting what is happening? This keyboard is requesting for service of microprocessor. It will make this output line, interrupt request line active. Then what PIC will do? PIC will convert that interrupt request into the vector number, and then PIC will activate this INTR signal. So when this INTR signal is activated, so microprocessor will come to know that one of the external input output device is requesting for the service. So what microprocessor will do? Microprocessor will carry out a bus cycle, one bus cycle. So in this case, it will be a interrupt acknowledgement bus cycle. So by using that interrupt acknowledgement bus cycle, this microprocessor will try to read vector number of the interrupt that is coming on INTR pin. Okay, please try to understand. When INTR line becomes active, what CPU will do? What microprocessor will do? Microprocessor will read vector number from this PIC. Okay, so PIC has converted that interrupt request into the vector number. So how PIC can convert interrupt request into the vector number? So we have seen that which range is allocated to the interrupts that are coming on INTR pin. It is 32 to 255. So let's assume that this is IRQ0 line. Okay, then this is IRQ1. So what we can do here, or what PIC can do here? So PIC can just add 32 in this 0. Okay, so this is IRQ0 line. So what PIC will do? PIC will add 32. Okay, why 32? Because 0 to 31 is already allocated to the exception and the NMI. Okay, so that's why here PIC will add 32. So 0 plus 32, so result will be 32. So what will be the vector number of the interrupt which correspond to this clock? It will be 32. Okay, similarly, what will be the vector number of the interrupt which correspond to the keyboard? So here PIC will add 32 in this one, so it will be 33, and so on. Okay, so by using this logic, PIC can convert that interrupt request into the vector number, and then CPU or microprocessor will carry out interrupt acknowledgement bus cycle in order to read that vector number from the PIC. Are you getting? So in this way, 80386 can identify the type number, vector number of the interrupt which is coming on INTR pin. I hope it is clear to you. Then our next topic is how to enable or disable the interrupt. Which are different ways by which we can enable or disable the interrupt. So do you know any way by which we can enable or disable the interrupt? Yes. So we have seen that there are two types of hardware interrupt. One is INTR and second one is NMI. So there is no question of NMI. Yes, we have seen NMI, it cannot be disabled. Yes or no? And what about INTR? The interrupts which are coming on INTR, they can be enabled or disabled by using which flag? By using IF flag that is present in flag register. So this is only one way. Is there whether this is only one way by which we can enable or disable the interrupt? No, there are some other ways also, or there are some other cases also where interrupts get disabled by processor. So which are those ways? So let's try to understand it. Which are those cases? Let's try to understand it. So the first case is NMI mask further NMI. Okay, NMI mask further NMI. So we are saying that NMI cannot be disabled, but in this case that NMI is disabled. So which is that case? So try to understand. So let's assume that on NMI pin some interrupt signal has received. Okay, so some interrupt has arrived on which pin? On NMI pin. Okay, so whenever some interrupt will come on NMI pin, we have seen that 80386 has to pay attention to that particular interrupt. 80386 has to provide service to that particular interrupt. So how 80386 will provide service to that particular interrupt? Yes, again we know that for each and every interrupt there is one ISR. Okay, so ISR stands for interrupt service routine. So it is small code, small program. So this interrupt service routine is responsible for providing service to that particular interrupt. Okay, so whenever some interrupt is coming on NMI pin, what 80386 will do? 80386 will transfer control to the ISR. Okay, now what is happening here? Which code is under execution? ISR. One ISR is under execution. So what this ISR is doing? So this ISR is trying to provide service to the interrupt which is coming on NMI pin. Okay, and at this time, let's assume that another interrupt has came again on NMI pin. Are you getting this situation? Okay, one interrupt has received on NMI pin, so that's why 80386 will transfer control to the ISR. Okay, now this ISR is under execution. So when this ISR is under execution, at that time, suppose another interrupt come on again NMI pin. So whether that interrupt will be serviced immediately by 80386? No. So this is meaning of this sentence. NMI will mask further NMI. Okay, so when ISR of one NMI interrupt is under execution, at that time 80386 will not recognize the further interrupts which are coming on NMI pin. Okay, so in this case we can say that the interrupts which are coming on NMI pin will be disabled. When this ISR will be executed completely and when control will go back to the interrupted program, then again 80386 will start recognizing the interrupts which are coming on NMI pin. So are you getting? When the interrupts coming on NMI pin, they are disabled by 80386? Yes, it is very simple. So when ISR of NMI is under execution, so at that time 80386 will not recognize further interrupts that are coming on NMI. So that is meaning of this sentence. Okay, then next case is IUP mask INTR. So please try to understand. IUP stands for interrupt flag. So where interrupt flag is present, it is present in flag register. Okay, and what is the role of this IUP flag? So if IUP flag is equal to 1, okay, if IUP flag, what is long form of IUP? Interrupt flag. So if interrupt flag is equal to 1, then only 80386 can recognize the interrupts which are coming on INTR pin. Okay, so in other words, I can say that the INTR pin will be enabled. Okay, so when the interrupts coming on INTR pin will be enabled, so the interrupts coming on INTR pin will be enabled only if IUP flag in flag register is set to 1. If this IUP flag is 0, okay, if IUP flag is equal to 0, then what will happen? Whether 80386 can recognize the interrupts coming on INTR pin? No. When IUP flag is equal to 0, 80386 will ignore the interrupts coming on INTR pin. So that is meaning of this sentence. IUP mask INTR. Are you getting? Okay. Now when 80386 reset, what is value of IUP flag? So default value of IUP flag is 0. When we have already seen reset operation of 80386. Okay, so after reset activity we have seen what are content of various registers of 80386. Okay, so there just observe content of flag register. So you will come to know that after reset, what is status of IUP flag? It is 0. Means immediately after reset, can 80386 recognize the interrupts coming on INTR pin? No. So those interrupts will be disabled. Now, which are the instructions? Are there any instruction that can be used to alter status of this IUP flag? Okay, suppose I want to set IUP to, I want to set IUP. Which instruction can I use? So in 80386 there is one instruction, STI. STI stands for set interrupt flag. And I want to reset IUP flag. Which instruction I can use? It is CLI, clear interrupt flag. Okay, so by using these two instruction, by using STI instruction, I can set interrupt flag, and by using CLI instruction, I can clear interrupt flag. Okay. So whether these instructions are privileged instruction, yes, we have discussed what is meant by privileged instruction. We have seen that in 80386 there are total 19 privileged instruction. So whether STI and CLI comes under that category. Yes, we have seen what is the definition of privileged instruction. What is privileged instruction? The instructions which affect segmentation mechanism, protection mechanism, alter interrupt flag. Okay, so which are the instructions that alter interrupt flag? So those instructions are CLI and STI. Okay, so these instructions are privileged instruction. So these are privileged means while executing this instruction, 80386 will check some condition, and if that condition is satisfied, then only 80386 will allow you or your program to execute that particular instruction. Okay, so which is the condition that is checked by 80386 while executing these instructions which are altering interrupt flag? Yes, the condition is that CPL should be less than or equal to IOPL. Okay, already we have discussed this condition. Okay, so same point is explained here. So STI and CLI are used to set or reset IF flag, and they can be executed only if CPL is less than or equal to IOPL. Then following instructions are related with IF bit. Okay, so which are other instructions that are related with IF bit? Yes, so one is push F. So what push F will do? So push F will copy content of flag register onto the stack. So this push F, when push F instruction is copying content of flag register onto the stack, at that time it will also copy status of that IF flag. IF flag is present in the flag register, it is part of flag register. So push F is copying whole flag register on the stack. Okay, so when push F is executed, we can say that IF bit which is present in flag register will also be copied onto the stack. Then task switch. Okay, so task switch will also alter tasks which they are also related with IF bit. They are also related with IF flag. They are also responsible for changing status of IF flag. Can you explain this sentence? Yes. How task switch will alter status of IF bit? What happens during task switching? Yes, what are steps that are followed by 80386 during task switching? First of all, 80386 will save state of current task into its TSS. And then in order to start execution of second task, what 80386 will do, it will 80386 will load state of that new task from its TSS into various registers of 80386. So whether TSS of the task contain field for flag register? Yes, observe format of TSS. So in TSS there is one entry for flag register. So when some task is to be executed, what 80386 will do, 80386 will copy state of that particular task from the TSS into various registers of 80386. So as a part of this activity, whether content of flag register is getting changed? Yes, it is getting changed. Okay, so the image of flag register which is available in TSS will be copied into the flag register. So during this operation, whether IF flag may change? Yes, IF flag may change. So I can say that task switch, they are also related with IF flag. Then the instruction pop F. So whether instruction pop F is related with IF flag? What pop F instruction will do? So pop F instruction will copy image of flag register which is available on the stack into the flag register. Okay, so when pop F instruction is copying image of flag register from stack into flag register, so during this operation IF bit may get changed. Yes. Then next one is irate instruction. Irate instruction is also responsible for changing status of IF flag. Irate instruction is also related with IF flag. So what is use of irate instruction? So irate instruction is used to return from ISR to the interrupted program. Okay, please try to understand. RET and irate, these are two separate instructions. So there is difference between RET and irate. So what is use of irate instruction? By using irate instruction, 80386 can transfer control from ISR to the interrupted program. So when interrupt occur, so suppose this is one program which is under execution, and while execution of this program, suppose some interrupt occur, so we know that control should go to the ISR. But before transferring control from this program to the ISR, what 80386 will do, 80386 will save something on the stack. We are going to discuss this point later on. Okay, but just in order to explain this particular point, that is irate, I will explain this point in short. Okay, so suppose this program is under execution, and at that time some interrupt occurs, so control should go to the ISR of that particular interrupt. Before transferring control to the ISR, what 80386 will do, 80386 will push something onto the stack. 80386 will save something onto the stack. So what is that something? So first one is the return address. Yes, is it necessary to store the return address? Yes, it is necessary to store the return address, because after execution of ISR, again we want to start execution of this interrupted program. Okay, so for that we will require return address. So return address will be saved onto the stack, plus here content of flag register is also getting saved on the stack. Okay, this point is clear. When interrupt occur, then before transferring control to the ISR, what 80386 will do, 80386 will save at least these two things. First one is return address, and second one is content of flag register onto the stack. Okay, so at the end of ISR, I am saying that which instruction is present, irate. So when this irate instruction is executed, what should happen? So again control should go to the interrupted program. Control should go to this interrupted program. So in order to transfer control to the interrupted program, 80386 will require return address, and that return address is available on the stack. But on the stack, whether we have only return address? No, we have image of flag register also. Okay, before transferring control from program to the ISR, 80386 has pushed these two things on the stack. So when irate instruction is executed, 80386 will pop these two things from the stack. Okay, so first one is return address. So return address will be popped from the stack, and it will be stored in CS EIP registers, and flag image of flag register which is available on the stack will also be removed from the stack, and it will be stored in flag register. Okay, so can I say that irate instruction is also responsible for changing content of IF bit? Okay, please try to understand what irate instruction is doing. Irate instruction, when irate instruction is executed, the image of flag register which is available on the stack is getting copied into the flag register. So during this operation, content of that IF flag may get changed. So I can say that irate instruction is also responsible for altering content of IF bit. Okay. Then the interrupt selecting interrupt gate in IDT will reset IF flag. Okay, so I will explain this particular point later on, because right now you are not familiar with interrupt gate. So when we will discuss IDT, at that time we will see this particular point. Then next case which is responsible for to enable or disable interrupt is RF bit. RF bit is present in again flag register. So RF stands for resume flag. So I have already explained this resume flag in debugging. Okay, so you just watch my video on debugging. So there you will find one separate video on RF bit. So this RF bit is also responsible for disabling the interrupt. Then move or pop to SS, make mask some interrupt or exception. Okay, so what is role of SS? What is role of stack segment register? So stack segment register hold a base address of the stack. Okay, so when you are trying to copy some value into this stack segment register, when you are trying to change content of stack segment register, either by using move instruction or pop instruction, so at that time also 80386 will disable some interrupt or exception. So suppose your program is under execution and you want to change the stack. So in order to change stack, what you have to do? Yes, in order to change stack, what you have to do? So you have to change content of two register. First one is SSR. Okay, that is stack segment register. So stack, what is the role of stack segment register? Stack segment register contain base address. In case of real mode, it will contain directly base address of the stack segment. In case of protected mode, its role is different. Okay, so SSR will contain selector. In case of protected mode, we can say that SSR will contain selector for the stack segment, and ESP will point to the element which is present at top of the stack. So if I want to change the stack, okay, what is our question? How to change the stack? So in order to change stack, so let's assume that there are two stacks. First one is stack 1 and second one is stack 2. Okay, so in order to use stack 1, what I have to do, I have to load accordingly some proper value in SSR and ESP. Now suppose I want to change a stack. I don't want stack 1, I want stack 2. So in order to change the stack, what I have to do, I have to change content of both register. Yes, I have to change content of SSR as well as ESP. So when you are trying to change content of SSR register, at that time 80386 will disable some interrupt. Okay, that is meaning of this case, that is meaning of this statement. Move or pop to SS mask some interrupt. Okay, so why it is required to mask some interrupts? Okay, so consider this example. Okay, we want to change the stack here. So what you will do, first of all, you will change content of SSR. So see, you can use the code somewhat like this. So first instruction will be a move yes. So here SS means SSR, stack segment register. So you are trying to copy content of AX register into the SSR. Okay, now you have changed content of SSR. Okay, so assume that you have changed content of SSR. Now this SSR is pointing to which stack? Stack 2. But what about ESP? Whether it is pointing right now, whether it is pointing to the stack 2? No, it is pointing to the stack 1. It points to the element which is present at top of the stack in stack 1. Okay, here we want to change the stack. In order to change stack, first of all we will change content of, suppose, SSR register. Now SSR register is pointing to stack 2, but at this point whether ESP is pointing to the stack 2? No, it is pointing to the stack 1. And at this point, if some interrupt occur or some exception occur, what will happen? So when some interrupt occur, whether there is any role of stack? Yes, just now I told, whenever any interrupt occur, then before transferring control to the ISR, what 80386 will do? 80386 will push at least these two things on the stack. First one is return address and second one is flag register. Okay, so here we have changed content of SSR, and suppose interrupt occur, then how 80386 should behave? What 80386 should do? Can 80386 provide service to this particular interrupt? In order to provide service to this particular interrupt, control has to go to the ISR. Before that, we have to push content of flag register and return address onto the stack. But whether our stack, whether we have a stack, valid stack here? No, right? Because SSR is pointing to the stack 2 and ESP is pointing to the stack 1. SSR is pointing to stack 2 and ESP is pointing to the element which is present at top of the stack 1. So that's why whenever you are trying to copy some value in SSR register, whenever you are trying to change content of SSR register, what 80386 will do? 80386 will mask some interrupt or exception. So which are those interrupt or exceptions that are stopped? So 80386 will stop INTR, NMI and debug exception. So this is about enabling and disabling the interrupts. Then next topic is priority of the interrupt. Now suppose two interrupts occur at same time, what 80386 will do? So that's why some priorities has been assigned. So if two interrupt occur at same time, 80386 will provide service to the interrupt which has highest priority. So which is the interrupt that has got highest priority? So in 80386, all fault, okay, except debug fault, okay, and they have got highest priority. Then next one is trap instruction. Then next one is debug trap. So when we discuss this topic debugging, at that time we have seen what is debug fault as well as what is debug trap. Okay, you know difference between fault and trap. Okay, so in debugging we have debug fault as well as debug trap. Okay, so which exception or which interrupt has got highest priority? All fault except debug fault. After that we have trap instruction. Okay, then we have debug trap, and then we have debug fault. Then the next interrupt is NMI, and at the last we have INTR. So the interrupts which are coming on INTR pin, they have got lowest priority. So the priority will go on increasing as we move from bottom to the top. Okay, so this is about priority of the interrupt. Thank you.